This video is sponsored by MPB. I honestly feel like I was born to be an older gentleman. I started getting grey hair when I was about 20. I wear slippers for significantly more than half the year. I drink more tea than water. And I spend a lot of time contemplating multiple newspaper subscriptions. And I don't mean like on an iPad. I mean sort of in my living room, broadsheets, slippers on, cup of tea, tutting at the headlines. That for me is the dream. Another thing I do that's sort of in line with being an older gentleman typically is not spend that much of my life on Instagram. I've got a 2-minute time limit every day set up on Instagram on my phone. And truth is nowadays, I don't even get to the 2-minute limit before I come off. Typically, I consume photography these days through photography books, and I'm very proud of my collection that's growing. Or often, I'll go to the website of photographers I'm inspired by and spend, 20 minutes, half an hour just flicking through photos on people's websites. However, occasionally, by which I mean every few weeks, I remember that I have a photography business and therefore I should probably post myself on Instagram. And when I do that, I typically linger a little bit on Instagram. And when I'm flicking through, I've noticed in the past year or two that I have much more skepticism about the authenticity of what it is that I'm seeing. That's definitely the sort of thing an older gentleman would say. But cameras have never been better. It's never been easier to clone, and you don't need to dig around that much in Lightroom to find boxes called generative AI that you can tick while editing. And to be honest, it causes me to wonder whether or not I'm looking at a photograph or some sort of creation. And that matters to me because the only reason I really like photography is the same reason I like music, same reason I like movies, same reason I like books. Because I know that they were created by people. Anyway, I was feeling this stuff particularly keenly just before Christmas when I was trying to plan my next photography trip. And the conclusion I came to was that I wanted to go somewhere that felt real, somewhere that didn't seem to be a fairy tale. I wanted to find somewhere gritty, somewhere interesting, but ultimately somewhere that was quite kind of unpolished. And after a couple of hours on Street View, I found somewhere, namely the north coast of Gran Canaria, which looked colourful, windswept, lived in, and crucially actually, and perhaps most importantly, looking at the weather, it looked like I might have the opportunity to wear some shorts at some point throughout my trip. So I went. Up until, I'd say embarrassingly recently, I thought this island was called Gran Canaria with a D. And that's embarrassing because I've been here before. We brought Noah here when he was a baby for a little holiday. But I'm very excited to be back. Not the only naming problem I've had on this trip so far, I'd say. I managed to book a hire car on the wrong island. Booked a car in La Palma rather than from Las Palmas Airport. Luckily the price wasn't too bad. I felt like the woman from Hertz was about to gouge my eyes out, but could have been worse. Good to be here though. I feel like this cat wants a piece of my camera. Hey. been the story of the trip so far. Waiting for light. A bit of an update on the shorts while we wait. I'm feeling pretty good about my decision. The locals are looking at me like I've got a screw loose, but they've not been living in the UK in January, so this is wonderful. And even when the light's not out, shorts don't feel too bad at the moment. The hardest thing in photography, I think, is knowing how long to wait at a scene and knowing the value of a scene versus moving on somewhere else that might be better. I've talked about a 5-minute rule in the past where you wait somewhere 5 minutes, and if nothing happens, you move on. But here we go. Yes! I don't know how it's raining, but it's raining. I don't always like to do that much research for trips like this. I often prefer to just come and see what I find, but when I do research places, I find Street View to be a really, really useful tool most of the time. But places like this, for example, it's not been updated for about 12 or 13 years, I think it said. So you never quite know what you're going to find, particularly somewhere like Spain, where there is just development all the time. But this place, from what I remember, this place looks pretty similar to how it looked on Street View, but I don't know that there are lots of great photos here. Man, when I grow up, I would like a hobby 600. That would be nice. For the meantime, a photo of it will have to do. In what is now very nice light. It's raining again though, somehow. Oh. And just like that, the scene is ruined. Oh, and now we're talking. Yes. If this is your first time watching this channel, welcome. I quite enjoy photographing things like bins, trash. I think they tell you a bit about a place. And I like photographing these and anything man-made in the context of a nice landscape. And it feels very sweet to have the opportunity to photograph something like this with something that's conventionally much more photogenic in the background, namely a lighthouse. There's something I quite like about that. And yeah, I don't know how it'll turn out, but I think there are a couple of different framing options here. Oh, that cloud. Beautiful. So I've talked to lots of photographers over the past year or two about AI, and I feel pretty bullish about photography, the future of photography, I'd say. I mean, I wouldn't want to hold the keys to a studio where I was doing product photography necessarily, but this sort of photography where somebody is going out into the world to take photos purely because they want to, that only has value if it has any value at all because it's a person doing it, in my eyes. I genuinely think that there is nothing more interesting in the world than another person's perspective. And that's why I love looking at photography books and people's websites, because you get a real window into somebody else's perspective. And yet I don't think that'll ever change. I suppose what has changed is that people nowadays have to show receipts more than maybe they ever had to previously. I, for instance, showed, before showing this photo, a little clip of the lighthouse and the clouds behind the lighthouse, so you know, looking at that photo, that it's real. Unless that clip was AI generated. But I've noticed as well, lots more people are showing the raw version of their photos before showing the finished version. People are using authentication tools a lot more than they used to. And also, actually, I think this is one of the reasons for the resurgence of film. Kind of feels more real than some of the digital stuff, given that film, I mean, you've got your negative and it's kind of proof that it's a photograph, you know? Anyway, I say all of this to say that recently I've been thinking quite a lot about the skills a photographer needs, and the most important skills, either in the field or when you're editing. And some people would argue that you don't need any editing skills. Editing is not necessary in photography. You can do it all in camera. I don't believe that, but some people do. In any case, I've come to think that the most important skill for a photographer is knowing the difference between good and too good. And I think particularly today, even if your photo is real, if it doesn't look real, it's going to invite skepticism and therefore reduce its impact. And I think therefore being prepared to step away from the chase for perfection can actually improve your photos. And though I don't really know if that makes sense, but it's just some thoughts that have been whirring around in my head of late. Hopefully it was interesting. I mean, I guess if you're still here, that's a pretty good sign. But maybe you're not. Maybe I've just been sat talking to myself for quite a while. Wouldn't be the first time. Thank you for watching, if you are still here, and a big thank you to MPB as well, the sponsor of today's video. I am currently laying out all of my kit for my next trip, and a healthy percentage of it came from MPB. Over the years, I've saved thousands by buying used from MPB, and I've done so safe in the knowledge that everything has been checked by experts before being listed on the site, and also everything comes with a warranty. It's a fantastic service, and it's the first place I check every time I need to add a piece of gear to my kit. Also, it's the place I turn to sell my equipment as well. It couldn't be simpler. You get a quote online instantly, and if you're happy with that quote, MPB will arrange for a courier to come to your house to collect it, and once they've received and assessed it, they'll pay you very quickly. It does away with all the faff of selling equipment. I love it. So, big thank you to MPB for their continued support of this channel, and again, thank you to you for watching, if you are still watching. Next time, I probably won't be in Spain in shorts. You'll be pleased to hear. See you then.